Today we're looking at how a producer can be a good producer for a discipline or genre that they don't know very well. I'll discuss how to talk to people, as well as considering different approaches to building a game for different genres. Hi, I'm Jen Sandercock, and this is Jen's Generally Good Game Production Advice. I'm a games producer who loves to help teams ship their games on time, on budget, with a happy and fulfilled team. In this advice column, I respond to game developers who are having problems on their teams. Why should you listen to me? Well, I could tell you all of the years I've been in games, all the titles I've shipped and awards I've won, but I'm a producer, so I don't really like tooting my own horn. I'd much prefer to talk about my amazing team, so I guess you should just listen to me because maybe some of it makes sense and it might help you. Today's question is, I'm working with a discipline I have never worked in before. The next game will be heavily narrative. What would you recommend as a producer you should do to prepare when starting to work on a very different project? Well, often I hear that to be a good manager or producer, you need to have done that discipline yourself. And yes, it can be helpful, but counterintuitively, I actually think not knowing a discipline can be an amazing superpower in conversations with team members. So part of production is about listening to team members and creating processes that allow them to do their work efficiently and well. If you already know a specific discipline back to front, then your tendency is probably going to be to just a little bit dictate processes that worked for you when you were doing that discipline. But those processes may not actually work for another person or team or for this particular game that you're working on. When you don't know that much about a discipline, you need to start all of your conversations from scratch, and that can help you avoid biases that you didn't even really realize that you had. Also, many people love to feel smart by telling you all about what they do. So if you don't know stuff, they can train you, and they love that. All right, so we're starting with talking, but who are you talking to, and what are you asking? Well, begin with the people who are in the discipline that you want to learn more about. Ask them ask them to talk through their processes. How do you create content, assets, do your work? Be genuinely curious. Show humility and a willingness to learn. Ask them what tools they need. Ask them about dependencies, timelines, preferred deliverable names and types. Find out how everything's going to get tested for them or possibly reviewed. Ask about risks and things that didn't work for them on other games. Next, you can reach out to friends outside of this team who have worked in this discipline before. Find out what processes have worked for them. You could also talk to people in other disciplines in your team to find out what they need from this discipline that you don't understand well. Next, you may need to look at fundamentally changing how you build and make this game. Look at how you've approached development on previous games and consider what assumptions did you make then. Are those assumptions valid for this type of games? I personally find it really helpful to think of two key different ways of developing games: vertical versus horizontal. In vertical development, you develop a single level or feature to an almost shippable degree of done. And then you move to the next level or feature and you get that to a similar degree of done. And you keep working until everything's almost done, and then you polish it all and ship that game. In horizontal development, you do just a little bit of every level or feature, and then you iterate over that slowly, building up and in waves until everything is ready to ship. Now, in terms of horizontal versus vertical, you sometimes don't get a choice because of publisher, marketing, other needs or things going on. But if you do get a choice, in general, vertical development of levels works really well when you're working in a genre that you don't really know, and then you're not really sure how features are going to combine together. And so that means it can work really well for genres where they're very gameplay focused, where you need to have a little bit of all of the features in a particular level to see how it all fits together. In horizontal development, that's great when you're working on a genre that you know very well and you're just building content to fit on top of well-known features. And that's because at some very early point in development, you're going to be able to play through the entire game end to end and kind of see how it's fitting together. And then you can chuck out stuff that's not working, and you're not throwing out really finalized, completed, beautiful work. For narrative focused games, particularly those that are leaning on established gameplay norms, horizontal development can really allow the team to feel that big picture of how story pacing is working and everything really early on and help get that narrative really locked down. Now, I don't think many other teams or people in the games industry use these terms these ways, but I find them helpful in talking to teams or thinking about stuff to kind of get a broad sense of how stuff might work. And of course, you don't have to choose vertical or horizontal. You could choose a hybrid where you start with a vertical or vertical slice, and then you do horizontal for the whole rest of the game. So there you have it. The basics of how to learn a new discipline is talk to discipline specialists, talk to other disciplines, talk to people outside your company, and consider broad strokes of how you want to make your game. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd love some advice for your game team or want to improve your production skills, ask me. I love indie teams, people who have to wear a lot of hats, and I do love questions from non-producers too. You can use a handy form to submit questions to my advice column. Remember that this is general advice, and it might not be right for you and your team, even if you're the person who asked me this question. For me to help you better, it needs to be a dialogue between you and me and your whole team. You can hire me. Here's my website. Remember, like and subscribe, and thank you so much for being here. Bye.